Donald Trump threatened to strike Iran over its support for Hezbollah, causing the Iranian delegation to walk out of talks in Switzerland on June 21, 2020. This move followed the resumption of military threats against the country. Global stability is precarious on June 29, 2006, as rising geopolitical tensions threaten to disrupt international order. The United States, Iran tensions grew from specific, long-standing historical conflicts. These deep-seated frictions emerged through decades of escalating diplomatic and military confrontations. A brutal conflict officially began in February 2026, marking a period of intense global instability. The United States and Israel have launched direct military strikes against Iranian nuclear and military sites. While a peace deal has triggered a global market rally, the war front in Lebanon remains a major obstacle to any potential treaty. To understand the context behind Trump's extreme threats today, we must examine the specific details of what actually happened during the diplomatic breakdown in Switzerland. Global markets rallied following optimism surrounding the United States' Iran peace deal. Trump signed a 14-point memorandum of understanding with Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian on June 17, 2017. The plan also forced the Strait of Hormuz to reopen for all international shipping. Bitcoin hit a significant milestone of $100,000 after positive ceasefire signals emerged in the geopolitical landscape. He canceled new military strikes on Thursday, yet the risk of further fighting stayed high. So, who really comes out ahead in this? The United States. Iran standoff? He also brokered a ceasefire reopening global energy routes, securing a major domestic political win that bolstered his standing. Certain United States policy shifts actually give the Iranian government a weird, unexpected advantage. Mediators, including Pakistan and Qatar, have stepped in to broker a ceasefire, reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Araghchi and Ghalibaf being there shows Tehran is choosing economic survival over ideological confrontation. Iran's new strategy shows their leadership can no longer afford the rising costs of ongoing military escalation. As Iran's top negotiator and foreign minister travel to Oman for discussions, the use of this neutral ground follows a period of intense regional volatility. The peace deal triggered a global market rally, yet serious distrust remains between Washington and Tehran. Energy routes are open and markets stabilized, yet the threat of new strikes remains a real problem. Tensions remain high as Iran's delegation walked out of Swiss talks after Donald Trump threatened to strike the Islamic Republic. If the Strait of Hormuz closes, the resulting supply shock will likely trigger a massive global recession. These intense, high-stakes negotiations are a strategic fight for control over the world's most important maritime shipping route. Muscat's success hinges on the United States applying enough pressure to force a deal without accidentally starting a regional war. The Iranian delegation's focus on maritime stability shows they recognize how much prolonged naval warfare actually hurts. This conflict forced long-standing regional allies to rethink how they protect their borders and maintain military readiness. Recent military and diplomatic moves in the Middle East are changing how regional powers interact with each other. The Biden administration faces a real crisis, enforcing United States terms without causing the entire regional order to collapse under its own weight. This ceasefire stays fragile because it depends on whether neighboring Gulf states keep cooperating with the deal. Recent military strikes changed the bargaining power for Iranian negotiators, giving them a new strategic advantage. Watching the Strait of Hormuz shows how much global trade depends on keeping the Middle East from falling into war. Oman is negotiating now because recent United States military operations have put massive pressure on the region's current diplomatic stability. The nuclear program's future remains the main, unresolved obstacle to reaching a lasting, stable, and comprehensive diplomatic agreement. This aggressive rhetoric looks like a deliberate attempt to force concessions. The plan uses the threat of state collapse to break the current deadlock. By directly attacking the regime's survival, the administration avoids standard diplomatic delays. This aggressive strategy forces a situation where leaders must choose between a hard compromise or total destruction. The June 28 ceasefire shows how much pressure exists. If they break these terms, any chance for a negotiated settlement will probably end for good. Both sides are using this pause to check their military readiness. Because total annihilation is a real risk, the cost of restarting the war is simply too high to ignore. The current instability shows a move from proxy wars toward direct existential threats. This new doctrine changes how regional actors calculate their actual risks. Muscat's current diplomatic setup is the only thing stopping full-scale kinetic operations. Recent aggressive statements show just how fragile this specific arrangement has become, threatening the stability of the region. Nuclear program development drives this geopolitical friction. If we fail to address this specific capability, the current ceasefire will likely collapse and become completely useless. If these talks fail, global energy supplies will destabilize. Losing this peace framework would trigger immediate market chaos, hitting energy prices and trade routes instantly, causing widespread economic disruption across the globe. The recent walkout by Iran's delegation followed Donald Trump's threat to strike the Islamic Republic over its support for Hezbollah. Regional stability hinges on turning these threats into a lasting security framework. Negotiators no longer have any room to fail during these upcoming talks, as the stakes for peace have never been higher. Recent United States military strikes gave Washington more leverage in negotiations. Now, officials are using that position to demand much stricter oversight of Iranian activities and regional movements. Recent shifts in Middle East geopolitics are forcing Gulf nations to restructure their security ties. Countries must now decide between full strategic alignment or facing extreme vulnerability. The June 28 agreement only works if everyone respects the current boundaries. If anyone breaks these maritime protocols, the situation will likely spiral into a permanent conflict. Total regime collapse might actually happen. The United States uses this threat as its main way to force political changes across the entire region, leveraging instability to pressure local leadership. New electronic warfare tools broke Tehran's early warning systems. This tech edge lets precision strikes bypass their traditional air defense networks without being detected. President Trump has stated that Iran will agree to major weapons inspections to ensure nuclear honesty. This follows military operations targeting Iran's nuclear and military infrastructure. Lasting peace depends on the rigorous, on-site inspecting of decommissioned centrifuge sites. Without physical, verifiable proof of these closures, the current diplomatic pause remains nothing more than a hollow, unsubstantiated gesture. There is growing speculation that a new war could be on the horizon in the Middle East as the United States drastically boosts its military presence. This follows President Donald Trump's announcement regarding the resumption of military actions against Iran, which led to the activation of air defense systems in Fars province. Diplomacy faces a limited window to defuse Tehran's nuclear program and de-escalate tensions. Missing this chance risks further instability. What is your take on this? Share your thoughts below and subscribe to the channel for more updates.